Right now, we talk to him every Thursday at this time. Brandon Lewis, he is the founder of the Tennessee Conservative, which you can read every day at TennesseeConservativeNews.com. Brandon, how are you today?
I said, it's always good to talk to you, buddy.
Yes, sir. So I wanted to talk to you about this story you had on your site dealing here locally with Chattanooga because Mayor Tim Kelly recently had his State of the City, and he says everything is just fine. But there's a Chattanooga councilwoman who disagrees with that. What is the latest on this story? What was the issue here?
Well, you're not really allowed to talk about the slow degradation of Chattanooga. You can't mention homelessness or trash or panhandling or anything like that because you'll be labeled. But yet here we have a Democrat city council person who ran for the state house as a Democrat, and she sends out emails consistently talking about that there are shootings and killings that are, quote, a daily occurrence, and that most of the programs that the city and Tim Kelly are touting that are supposedly stopping these, they prepare the rooms, the opportunities are made available, and the rooms remain empty. And to me, programs that have empty rooms are probably not very effective at combating this stuff, whereas good old traditional police work in the areas where the crime is the highest does work. That's exactly what Rudy Giuliani did
Hmm.
by the broken window theory in New York City, but Tim Kelly doesn't think that this is contributing to any of the violence or the break-ins or things of that nature that are really making people flee downtown Chattanooga.
So, and what you're saying there is that people really do believe that this is a concern. Like he's saying, it's not even that much of a concern. Crime rates are down, and I guess overall violent crime has come down, but there are certain other issues that people are worried about.
Well, yeah, and I mean, nobody wants to live in an unsafe neighborhood where your car's rifled through. We lived in downtown Chattanooga. I don't know if I told this story. One of the final straws, aside from the break-ins and all that stuff that happened in our house and in our cars, was one night my wife wakes up, Yaffee, and she goes, "I think there's a man holding a baby in our bushes." It's like 3 in the morning. I
Jeez.
thought, good grief, this woman is crazy. And sure enough, there's a man holding baby in our bushes, just a few houses off Brainerd Road. Luckily, the police come. But this kind of stuff is why folks, especially with young children, are fleeing the city. It's why you're starting to see vacancies along these corridors where businesses used to thrive, because folks do not want to raise a family and they cannot put a business in places that are unsafe like this.
So it sounds like the solution is fund the police, give them more support, not defund the police.
Yeah, fund the police and enforce the laws. I've got a friend of mine, Yaffee, that's was a prosecutor in Georgia, and he repeatedly says, all of our criminals go to Hamilton County to commit crimes because they know that you can get away with it and that they will catch and release you
Wow.
compared to Georgia. And so we've got this situation in our city where the people that are causing our streets to be unsafe or just being caught and released continuously. And for the sake of the folks that live in those areas that can't afford zip code choice because of their affluence, Tim Kelly, I believe, really should help those folks by stepping up to the plate.
Now, Tim Kelly, he's a pretty liberal Democrat, right? I mean, I know it's technically supposed to be a nonpartisan position, and he says he's nonpartisan, but all the evidence I've seen, he's pretty liberal Democrat. I think maybe we've talked about that before, but that seems to be the case, right?
Yeah, well, Harris, he laughed at the death of Rush Limbaugh. Like it's just he's the one that pushed this 15-minute city agenda, all the surveillance cameras downtown. I mean, he wants something akin to what the WEF wants, and he's moving towards that. And so all of the causes that he aligns himself with are liberal causes. And the issue is, I don't care if he's a Democrat or not, but if you look at all the cities around Tennessee where crime is the highest and all of the bad things are happening. Education performance is at its worst. They're all in Democrat-controlled municipalities, and so you would think at some point they would not just run the same old playbook over and over again.
Speaking with Brandon Lewis, he is with the Tennessee Conservative. Another story you have on that I definitely wanted to talk about actually has to do with last week, but there was something called Banned Books Week. Now, your site argues that it really aims to subvert Tennessee laws protecting kids from sexually explicit reading materials, and I tend to agree with that. It's interesting. They try to frame it in a way that, oh, well, these are just banned books and we're trying to censor speech. That's not really what's going on here, is it?
Well, they're up in arms because as clients of our school system, the taxpayers, the parents, kept complaining because in their school libraries and being pushed by government school employees are these books about transitioning, about sexually, sexual behavior and things that a lot of folks with traditional values just do not believe in. And, I can understand, number one, who wants to have to worry about their kids going to school and finding stuff that would never come into the house and they'd never come into contact with, and then to have folks fight it as violently as they have. But right now in Tennessee, all materials in the school library must be maintained and posted on the school's website. And so parents are able to take a look at what's in there, which they hate. You see time and time again with all of these programs related to transitioning, or you're one of the 15 imaginary, what is 15? I don't know, billion imaginary genders, that they're always trying to keep parents in the dark about what their kids are hearing and saying, and as if they're going to end up living with the consequences for the rest of that child's life into adulthood. And so you've got a group, the American Library Association and Penguin Random House Publishing, putting banned books on their website, scheduling events, and you've even got Little Free Libraries, another banned books week partner, and it has 1,369 locations around Tennessee. And so, the thing I always ask, and we report on this all the time, Yaffee, is if there was a restaurant that you wanted to go to, and if you knew that they had to have a policy that says you can't pee in the soup, would you go eat there? Probably not.
Yeah.
And so we've got all these policies about you can't tell white kids they're evil. You can't give them, terrible books to read. You can't. And it's all because in the schools it's happening repeatedly. And so to put your kids in that type of environment is it's hard to do as a parent. And you wonder why the homeschooling rates and everything else in Tennessee are going through the roof. It's because of stuff like this.
Yeah, and I haven't experienced it on the school level yet because my daughter is only one, but I know that my wife has taken her to some of the local libraries, and you go in the kids section and it's just full of that kind of stuff now. It's just stuff that was unthinkable when you and I were kids, right? Like, why would we teach this stuff to kids? And you go there and it's like, well, no, this is what kids need to learn now. They need to learn how they can change their gender. They need to learn about gay couples and everything. And it's like, do they really need to learn all this stuff,
Well, they don't, number one. And number two, they're failing at the very basics, reading,
right.
Math, science. And how in the world do you have time when you're already failing to go off on a goose chase to do something else that you have very little time and money? And they continue to dumb down the coursework. They continue to dumb down the standardized tests. When you look at the reading levels of folks, even we were highly literate in the mid 1800s in America. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We are not there anymore. We've got all the information, but very little of the education and the wisdom.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Brandon Lewis with the Tennessee Conservative. Before I let you go, you had another story about it looks like possibly some illegal immigrants were arrested in Tennessee for burglary during the storm, like taking advantage of the storm. Is that true?
As far as we know, 8 individuals, they're suspected to be migrants. Of course, when a story like this hits the mainstream media and it's not onesie twosie and we can't call in to local jurisdictions before all the hubbub comes, it's hard to get them to tell us the truth about this. But the New York Post and Fox News picked it up, and they have both claimed spokesmen from Washington County Sheriff's Department verified migrants were here on legal work visas. But at the same time, when you commit a crime on a legal work visa, you're immediately an illegal immigrant. And Immigration and Customs Enforcement did not immediately have any information on them. And so what that leads me to believe is, and I'm familiar with this program, is that they have brought these folks in. They could be under false identities. We have no idea. But the sad news is, in Tennessee here, we've got illegal aliens competing for housing and driving up costs, competing for jobs, driving down wages. When we got a situation like we have in East Tennessee where resources are scarce, I don't understand why GOP leadership in Tennessee continues to sit on its hands on this issue. And we report, as you see, week after week, murders, rapes, assaults, molestation, trafficking, and these are just the ones we can catch with our very small, tiny staff, with everybody being very closed-lipped. So you can imagine if we find one, there's probably 100 that are going unreported.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right on that. Just another way that illegal immigration is affecting our communities. Brandon Lewis, he is with the Tennessee Conservative. You can read it at TennesseeConservativeNews.com. Brandon, I always appreciate you joining me, and I know I'll talk to you again soon.
We'll talk soon, bud. Thanks for all you do.
Of course. Thank you as well.